Michael. Why don't
All right.
you kick off this week's masterclass? Welcome, Michael.
All right.
New face.
Welcome.
Michael
Welcome, everyone. My name is Michael, not Sarah. I know you're seeing Sarah there. My name is Michael. I'm going to be taking over. Let me just stop this here. I'm going to be taking over the masterclass from what Sarah was doing. So that you're going to start seeing my face a lot more often in future masterclasses. However, you might still see Sarah's name for a while. So yeah, until we get my Zoom set up and everything. Nevertheless, a little bit of introduction I'd like to introduce myself to everybody in the industry because you're going to be seeing my face quite a bit. I'm one of the newer trainers here at Velocity, so I've just taken over from Sarah. I will tell a little bit of background about me. I actually was, and everyone likes this piece of information. I was a police officer. That's where I started out my career. And I started out in active duty for some time, and then I moved to training pretty much immediately. Now, this is a long time ago, 12 years ago, but that was pretty much when I started out. So I was in active duty for a small time, then moved to training almost immediately. And I was pretty much training software and various other things. So I have not left training. That was where I furthered my education. So straight out of university, went to the police, and then I did my master's and so forth, focusing in on the training component. So that's a little bit about me and where I'm coming from in terms of my background and so forth. In terms of today, what we're covering in today's masterclass as an approach to how velocity can help you increase sales. Now, this statistic I got from Julie, that 50% went in and around 50% of your leads actually convert into active deals. So that's not a great statistic for the environment. And of course, the objective, at least why we put today's session together, was to try to get to a point where we can actually help out with that and show you exactly what tools we have in Velocity that help us do this. So what we're going to do is just focus in and around a certain amount of tools, and we're going to speak about various topics that Velocity has, or at least tools in Velocity that can focus in and around this topic. And hopefully by the end of the day, we'll get to a point where we can use Velocity for the beast that it actually is. It's not just a platform for submission. It's a whole lot more. So if we can just focusing on these other things, I think we'll definitely see how exciting the platform is and love it even more. So I'll hand over to Julie from here.
Awesome. Thanks, Michael. Thanks for joining us, and we're excited to have you as the new Sarah. So it's going to be fun. This is your first masterclass.
It is.
As you all know, my name is Julie Jeffrey. I am a brand ambassador with Velocity. I have been using Velocity for exactly 7 months. As many of you also know, I'm pretty much just a mega mortgage nerd. I love our industry. I love systems and technology, and I love working with my clients. I work in partnership with my husband, Andy. I have 2 full-time staff. And I am always trying to find new ways to grow our business. I'm also trying to find new ways to also work less and earn more. So I want to talk today to Aaron about some of those things. This is not about working more. This is about working smarter, not harder, and how Velocity can help us do that. So we're here to kind of just go through, we're going to do some really general topics today. And we're just going to also come up with some new ideas, I think, for how Velocity can help. So Aaron, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about what brand you're with, where you work, and a little bit about your team. And you guys, Aaron literally grew up in the mortgage industry, and you have to tell us a little bit about that, please.
Sure. Thanks, Julie. My name is Aaron Finney. I'm a mortgage broker with Mortgage Architects. Moved in fall of 2018 to Mortgage Architects. Previously, my entire career was with Mortgage Intelligence. As Julie mentioned, I am a second generation broker. My father was a broker in this space for 42 years, retired in 2015. I started in the industry in 2009, I believe. I got licensed in 2010. And basically spent the start of my career underwriting and doing fulfillment for my father and the team structure we had at that time. 2015, bought out his book of business from him and kind of combined that with my own book. cleaned house on a little bit of the team that he had and started rebuilding the team that I have. Right now, we're up to, under me directly, I think we're 19 or 20 agents as of today. We're 1 or 2 that are onboarding right now. So I always a little vague on the figure. But yeah, we're a pretty happy team, 150 million-ish, I think, so far year to date, somewhere around that, with the exception of one, I believe we are entirely on velocity.
Oh, I like with music to our ears. And so you have been, and remind us to just say it again, how long have you been actually using Velocity? You're exclusively using it. It sounds like your team pretty much is. And when did that start? So how long have you been in the system?
Yeah, so Velogix definitely owned the landscape for a long time. I was actually on the pilot for MoreWeb back in 2015, 16, whenever that was happening, 2014. MoreWeb had so much potential, but didn't work. Like, it didn't work right. So I knew there was potential, and I knew Velocity, kind of when DLC bought it, started revamping it. There was so much buzz. It was definitely not the sole factor, but it was definitely an influence in my decision to move to DLC. It was something like just the technology and the progression, the investment DLC group was putting into things. So long story short, I moved to MA in October 2018, got my feet wet with Velocity in November of that same year, and made the commitment January 1, 2019. So basically 2 months after I'd first gotten access to Velocity, made the commitment to switching full-time. Haven't looked back. I only ever log into to Expert if someone that's not using Velocity needs assistance on a file, but I avoid it like the plague.
Nice.
And I don't suffer from all the downage and outage that everyone else does. So I'm still using it.
I agree. Absolutely. I agree. And we've been the same. We've really never looked back. So one thing that a lot of times our audience wants to hear, because sometimes our audience are people who've really used the system really well, and sometimes they're just getting into it, or they're helping their agents, because you're coaching and leading a good amount of people. What would you say your kind of top tips are on how did you make the change? And as someone who's coaching and looking after a team, how have you encouraged people, or what tips would you give your team to actually make the change? Because I feel like making the change is actually somewhat difficult. It just has to be done, and you have to get it over with. But what are your tips on making the move?
Yeah, so I definitely tried to learn it as quickly as possible, at least the ground level, to assist my team with kind of the transition over. It's like anything new in this industry. If we don't evolve, we die. And it's very easy in some regards to get stuck into things that we know and like in this industry. But we've all experienced that lender that cancels the product that we had, and suddenly we're forced to look elsewhere, or things that change. Velocity and Newton, I know that they've built out this classic view for Velocity. Do not use it. It is so similar to Velogix, but not a mirror image, that I found everyone that's been struggling making the conversion, your brain is stumbling because it's trying to compare what Velogix is, that you know like the back of your hand, with Velocity that looks 90% the same but isn't exactly the same. And then your brain's like, well, this should be here, and it's not. You get annoyed, and then you get frustrated with it. Put a couple of files into it. Like, right from scratch, I pulled my whole database over, and I kind of just jumped in feet first. But like, put a couple of files in, get some familiarity with playing around with it. Certainly the YouTube videos are great, and there's a lot of resources online to kind of help yourself and learn as you go. But there's nothing that you can trade for just committing a day, committing 2 days, committing a couple hours at a time for a week to just getting in and playing around and figuring it out. And then, as I say, go right into the modern view so that you're learning something new. With the modern view, your brain doesn't recognize it. It's not familiar. So your brain's not getting tripped up. You're thinking, this is something new that I'm learning, and you're building new neural connections versus trying to like figure out what you think you might already know. But honestly, from there, like, just commit. That was the biggest challenge that I had with people, was people wanted to be half in and half out. They wanted 1 foot in Expert because they knew it and it was familiar and safe, and they wanted 1 foot in Velocity to try it. But then by default, every time you had a rush file, every time you had something stressful, every time you had something that felt out of your general comfort box, you were defaulting back to expert because it was there and it was your safety net. And really, like, it's a night and day comparison what Velocity and Vlogica offers. I feel like I'm pretty fluent in Velocity, but I also feel like I haven't tapped half of the potential that it has and that it has to come. So yeah, my tips and tricks: modern view, learn it, commit to it, and just jump in with both feet. There's nothing that you can't figure out, and there's nothing that can't be helped with the resources, either the in-person training, other brokers that know it, the master classes. Just commit and go.
Absolutely. No, I absolutely agree. I think it's lovely that they created the classic view, but I also worry about it because when I'm trying to teach and train new people, I'm saying I think it's muscle memory, right? Like you said, it's your brain. It's a new system and it's a different system. And I just found when I went into classic view, all I could think of was it doesn't function like the other system. Yep. So I use the modern view and I love it. Okay. So I want to talk about everything from this idea of leads, and I'm interested on your take on leads, and I want to figure out and talk about some of the ways that Velocity can help us. Leads come in. People are calling, texting. I get Instagram DMs. I get Facebook Messenger. I get realtors and home builders and financial planners saying, can you call so-and-so? So there's all these ways that leads are coming at us. And I find in my business, actually just managing the flow of leads and making sure that I'm doing my follow-up and staying in touch and staying on top of leads, I find it actually to be one of the hardest parts of the business. You give me an app and I run with it and I'm great, and but it's the front end that I probably need to do the most work myself on. So I want to talk about some ways that Velocity can help us basically get from that lead to an actual application. Because if we're not transitioning leads to apps to submitted apps to closed apps, that's what we do. We need to move people through a continuum. So I have some ideas on what I do in Velocity regarding kind of the beginning, the leads and the contacts and turning those into applications. Tell us about your process and maybe just if there's any parts of Velocity you use to keep driving that continuum towards actually getting an application on your screen.
Sure. So I'll preface by saying I don't use the client experience.
Okay.
I haven't used it. I just don't predominantly use it. And that's less of a commentary on whether it works well or doesn't work or anything like that. And that's more of a commentary on how my book of business is built. More than 50% of my business in a given calendar year is repeat clients. And so I typically don't have need to get an application from scratch when I can update an application that's maybe a year or two old from when I worked with clients previously. So from the lead perspective, whether it is or I guess whenever it's a new lead, whenever it's a client that's looking to buy, someone that's reached out, whatever, my process always, it goes two places. That contact information, whatever I have, goes into Velocity as a lead. Okay. And it also goes into my address book. It becomes a contact card in my phone. And the reason I put it both places is if that client calls me, I want their name to pop up on my phone. I want to be able to answer and say, hey, Julie, how's it going? Not Aaron Finney speaking, who's this? It also goes into my Velocity right away because I have workflows that are built around lead status.
Oh, do tell. We want to hear about this. Sure. So let's dig into this. So I do not have I have lots of workflows, but they're all the middle part. They're all once there's an app. Tell us what kind of workflows you have that are related to leads. What do they remind you to do?
Yeah, so a lead comes in, I put the lead in, and typically my process, just a little backstory, I get the lead, I'm sending out an email with a invitation to, or like a link to my calendar to schedule an appointment for a phone call. So I'm always right from the first contact pushing to get a phone call started so I can take an application over the phone, because that's how my business is built. But it goes into that lead status in Velocity because, one, if that client calls me up and out of the blue and I want to start an application over the phone, I can just click quick application or quick create, whatever it is, and it'll auto-populate the name, the email address, any information that I already had to create that lead. From the workflow side of things, I have a workflow that jogs my memory to follow up with a lead 2 days after I put that lead in. So if I haven't had an application come through, I'm sending an email to follow up that client. Hey, just a reminder, we need an application to get started. Can we book a phone call? I then have
tell us about your workflow trigger. Give us the example. So the workflow trigger is what for that one?
So that is just lead creation date or lead entry date. Whenever
2.
that lead is created, because I know that my process is built around when I put that lead in, I've also sent out that initial email correspondence. I know that once that lead's in there, I don't need to follow up same day because I've already reached out. But then that first trigger is based on the creation date of the lead, so that 2 days later, I'm getting a trigger to follow up. Now, hopefully the client's already booked an appointment and scheduled something, or at least reached out to me, in which case, if that lead trigger pops up, I just hit not needed. It's there, whatever. I can disregard it and go on. But if I haven't seen anything come through, or I haven't heard from my client, it is a trigger to follow up with that client. Email them again. So typically my first my first follow up is an email. I then have a second trigger built 5 days after the lead creation date, and that is to follow up with a phone call. That's that. Maybe they haven't got my email. Maybe it went to spam. The phone call follow up of, hey, let's get an application started. Let's get things rolling there. I then have a 10-day follow-up email again after that, because sometimes you get those leads and maybe they're just not ready the day that the realtor or the financial planner forwarded them over. I still want to stay up in touch. And then I have a fourth reminder that is to convert that. So that one's 30 days after the lead creation date. If I still don't have an application, it's a reminder, what I call lead cancellation. And that's to go into the contact card and convert it from a lead into a contact, so that it still stays in my address book, as it were, in Velocity, but it's not filling up my my leads. Of course, you put me on the spot and I can't think of anything. It's not filling up my leads column in the database there.
Okay, so do you set aside a certain amount of time in the run of a day, or a certain place in your day, or is it more it just happens? How do you make sure you're paying attention to your leads column and the workflows and then taking action?
Yeah, so my assistant follows up with the emails, because that's something that she can send out. So my assistant knows when she gets a trigger for a lead follow-up, she just quickly searches that client's name in Velocity. If she doesn't see a current application, then she's sending out a scripted email that we have to follow up with that client about that. The phone call, I like to do that because I always try and be the face as much as possible. So I get that phone trigger, and same thing. Generally, because it's me, if I see the client's name, I recognize it from a recent application. But if I don't recognize the name, it's a quick search, make the phone call, and then either mark that I've done it or mark not needed, as the case may be.
Great. Yeah, I love that. So it's just in the run of that day, 2 days later, 5 days later, the workflow appears in the run of the day, not so much packaged in a certain amount of time. Your assistant's going to send the stock email, really, something you've helped write, or you're going to do the call. I do something really similar. I have taken the great leap, Michael, you're going to be impressed. I have leaped into SMS texting.
Nice.
I've done it, you guys. It was scary. I had to just be like, okay, Julie, you need to grow up and be brave, and you need to try something new. I didn't want to. I had my feet stuck in the sand about not wanting to engage with the texting.
Are you engaging directly, or are you engaging in terms of setting up texts in bulk, like CRM and or everything? Workflows.
Yeah, we're doing this a little bit like Aaron is, and we've sent out so Aaron's taking a lot of phone apps where instead of sending out client experience, he's on the phone and he just starts an app. So he clicks quick app and starts an app, and he's taking in the information and adding it in as he's talking.
Yeah.
We're mostly sending out the client experience. We do a warm call, and then we start client experience. We do a little summary of the call in client experience. We have a few stock things embedded, which is the area, who referred them, the approximate purchase price, if it's a purchase, the approximate down payment. That's all built into our client experience stock details on the settings. And then we just open client experience and pop in those details for that client. It's a little warmer. It's like they know we were listening to that first phone call. We're reiterating it, and so we send it out. What we're doing is, and the workflows are smart, and I need to set those up because I can remind myself to send an SMS text as a workflow. So I need to actually, I've been doing it organically. Silly me. How is that possible as a Velocity brand ambassador? I need to set up workflows because I love workflows. And I'm going to set up the workflows. And what we're doing is my client care manager, Paula, similar to Aaron's process, 2 days after 2 days after the lead is sent out, she's going into the lead and she has a stock SMS text, and it just says, "Hi, I'm Paula. I'm with DLC Elevation Mortgage. I work with Julie Jeffrey. I'm just touching base. Is there anything I can help with? Can I answer any questions? Did you have any issues or challenges with completing the mortgage application? We're here to help. Here's my phone number or my email if you want to call or email me, or you can reply to this text and let me know how it's going." You guys, this is working so well. We are getting, I'm not kidding you, basically instant replies within 1 or 2 minutes by using the SMS texting, because we've sent an email. And don't you guys find sometimes, Erin, does it go to junk, or they don't see it, or they have a work email and a personal email and they're using two and they're not really checking the personal email, or they're just not email people, especially the younger clients I have. They're just not as much focused on email. So the text message is reminding them, you have something important in your email. And if you have any challenges, help us out. We're basically getting instant responses. "Oh no, it's great. I read your email," or "Oh, I didn't see it. Oh, please check, please check your junk folder," or "Please have a look in your inbox. Oh, I see it now." So it's going really well. And that's been only been the last 2 weeks. So I was afraid, and I was like, I'm doing it, and it's working really, really well. Someone saying, "Can I share the text messaging script?" Yeah, it's really basic. It's the text message is not from your phone, you guys. Remember, it's not leaving. So what Erin's saying, and I do the same, I start a contact card in my phone. That way, if the client ever calls me or sends me a text, it's on my phone. But the text message service through Velocity, it's not your phone number. It's a completely different number. So you always have to start by saying who you are. Get really specific so they don't think it's spam. I work with Julie Jeffrey at Elevation Mortgage. My name is Paula. Be really specific. Do an intro. Offer assistance or help, right? And then do the intro, offer some assistance, and then do a really nice, "Thank you so much. We're really excited to work with you to provide a mortgage pre-approval." So do kind of intro, body, and then an ending. Treat it like any other text message, but you don't want to just say, "We haven't received your mortgage application." You want to make it warm and friendly. And so the scripting is going to be really personal, but those are my 3 suggestions: really warm opener, really solid middle of how can we help, and then a little closer. And we're getting lots of responses on that. You can also set up this in your CRM. Right. So I know, Erin, you're mulling the CRM and you like the look of it and you're thinking about it and you're almost there, and I'm almost there, but I'm not there yet. I haven't turned it on. So the other thing you can do in your CRM, and I said this to someone yesterday, you don't need to go all in the CRM. Let's stop thinking about Velocity as it has to be everything all at once. Let's take it in pieces. And the piece that I'm turning on, that I'm almost ready, is actually around the leads in the CRM, so that it becomes a drip campaign for new leads, where once a week I build 8 weeks out, very generic. Let's not get too detailed. Keep it really soft touch, really generic mortgage information. This isn't, is it a purchase? Is it a refi? Keep it generic, and you can turn your CRM to just do a bit of a drip towards those leads, right? So
that's absolutely, like, I have a lot of workflows that were built like back in early 2019, before the CRM kind of got revamped to be as robust as it is, that we've already like asterisked that we're converting from workflows to CRM drips, because absolutely, like, I've got 4 workflow prompts for my assistant to send out reminders 30, 60, 90, 120 days after a pre-approval has been approved or submitted. And that's a manual thing we're doing right now, because when we built it out, the CRM couldn't do it. Well, now we're looking to move that over to the CRM, and we're just revising our scripts and our looks so that becomes an automatic drip. It's not something my assistant needs to get bogged down doing every day.
Yeah, I like the automation too, but you're right. It's also sometimes scary to automate, isn't it? But what it's important to remember with the Velocity CRM, you can choose different settings. You can choose that things automatically shoot out to the client. Gives all of us stress and anxiety. I know that. It gives me, makes me feel like I'm going to start sweating. Things are automatically shooting out. You can do that. You can also choose to approve the CRM messages that go out. So something that might be more efficient for both you and I when we have people working with us, my thought is when I do turn it on, and that'll be next Monday, that I'll have it set as as Sarah, who helps me with all my leads. Sarah will still actually go click, 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 click for the first couple of weeks just to get comfortable. So again, Velocity provides us with all different levels of, people worry that everything has to go into the CRM. I No, I don't think so. I think start really small with something as simple and easy as leads. And you're not going to worry if you offend, are you? Because we all worry, oh, what if I sent the wrong thing to the wrong person? You know, we all worry about that. It's like if you're just saying hi and offering a warm hand and some help in them providing a mortgage pre-approval, you don't need to worry that, oh, I get the mortgage anniversary date wrong, or there was something, an issue that maybe my data integrity wasn't there. So I think there's a lot of cool uses. So I love it that I'm doing client experience, Erin, and you're doing the phone app, but you're still using Velocity. Then once you have this application that comes in, then what? Tell me how you're using the document collection tools.
Yeah, so whether it's a repeat client or whether it's a new client, if it's a repeat, I'm obviously copying the most recent application I have and updating it on the phone call. If it's a new client, I'm starting from scratch, but I'm not losing 45 minutes or an hour keying in every details. I'm hitting the major things. I'm hitting current phone numbers and current email addresses. And especially if you have repeat clients, always reconfirm those. Can't tell you how many times a client's changed their email, clients changed an email, and like, thank God that I didn't send it to their old ex-husband's email account or whatever it is. So I double check the communication methods, the what's the best number, what's the best email. I'm finding out just who's your employer and what's the nature of your employment so that I know what kind of documentation to ask for. Obviously self-employed, I'm asking for different docs than salaried employee. I'm hitting, is there any properties? Maybe they bought a property that I didn't help with that I need to ask for documents for. So I'm hitting kind of the major milestone questions on the application. I'm not getting into the nitty gritty of date of birth, social insurance number, all that, because as soon as I finish that application, all my clients know they're going to get 2 follow-up emails. One is an Adobe e-signature link, and that's my client letter of engagement. People with mortgage architects are pretty familiar with that. And that's basically our consent form. Mm-hmm. So that's going out for e-signatures right away. Most clients get that before we've even finished the phone call because it's templated. And then the second thing that's going out is that portal request for documentation. So I have smart conditions built extensively into Velocity. So basically, as soon as I have the key details of the application, I'm hitting add smart conditions. It's populating with property tax bill, mortgage statement for existing property. It's populating for void check. I always ask for a void check up front for the account they want their payments to be made from, because then it's something I don't have to ask for later. It's auto-populating for employment letter, pay stub, 2 years T4s, if they're salaried, if they're hourly, if they're commission-based. Wow, it's triggering for T1 generals, notice assessments, and articles of incorporation or business license if I indicate that they're self-employed. So with the extension, and I have a ticket in for this, so I'm hoping they get to it soon. They need a trigger point for marital status. They need a trigger point for separated or divorced so that you can auto-populate for a separation agreement.
Oh, but I love it.
Basically, aside from that, all of my conditions that I have in a file auto-populate, and all I do is go click, 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 hit request documents through portal or whatever the blue button verbiage is, type the client's email. I have a pre-populated script that goes in the body of that. And that email usually follows 5 minutes after the phone call ends.
Right. Okay, cool. So we're kind of, it's funny because it's so interesting to me. What you and I are not actually talking about, although it is the end result of our business, we're not going sales. How do I increase volume? How do I get more done in the run of a day? How do I increase production? Well, really, that's the end result, isn't it? But what you and I are talking about is all of the little systems and processes and setup that we all have that actually ultimately result in us being able to do as much business as we can in the least amount of time. When you have more hours in your day, if you can use some of these tools in Velocity and you can reduce your work time on applications in front of you and pre-approvals or applications in front of you, you have another hour or 2 in the day to focus on your leads and your referral partners and your database and the CRM. So I always love these conversations because sometimes people will say to me, what is it? What are the things you use in Velocity to help increase sales? We've had a banner year since starting Velocity, and it's that simply we're using the tools provided. So I love your thoughts on smart conditions. I want to ask you, because people ask me this all the time, and I have quite a few. I don't have as many as you, but I need more. How long do you think it took you to set up smart conditions to work really well? And if you think about that time, how much time does it now save you? So what was the setup time? Tell us the truth.
So I would have to actually look at my settings to see how many I have now, but I did not set up all of my smart conditions in one go. Like the same with my workflows. I think I have 70-ish workflows now for different things. I didn't sit down for 3 days straight and bang them all out. My smart conditions, they grew organically, basically. You know, I started with the key ones. I started with ones that I knew that I was going to be asking for in every time. I don't care whether you started your job 3 weeks ago and you were in a similar role previously. I'm asking for 2 years T4s if you're employed or if you're pay stub, because we know that if a lender or if a client's less than 1 year of the job, the lender's going to ask for a T4 from previous employment. So I'm just getting that up front. So things that were very common for every file, employment letter, pay stub, T4s, those were my starting points. And from there, it was easy to use the filters. Like, I'm not asking for an employment letter and pay stub on every file because that's only applicable to certain file types. So I used filters to apply to all borrowers of a certain employment type on all files. From like the income docs, and the same thing goes for the income tax and benefit returns, notice of assessments, articles of incorporation, or business license. From there, I started to look at like, what documents do I know that I need every time on a file? So I set up smart conditions for mortgage statement or property tax bill if there's an existing property, because I know that I'm going to need that and I want that up front.
So you're doing what I say every day, which is sometimes what's happening is I think people are overwhelming themselves by thinking I have to set them all up in one fell swoop. No, set up I would say this for smart conditions. Even go in sections. I did them. The first ones I did were all income based. There wasn't anything else. So it was just as many things as I could think of relating to income. And then like yourself, I tried to do the core, but then you're right. I thought of, articles of incorporation, and I would keep adding. So now a really good practice that we do on our team is every time we have to manually add a condition, so we have to manually click add condition and figure out how to add that, we have a little cheat sheet and we throw that condition onto the cheat sheet and we talk about it in our weekly team meeting. And then Paula, who's our client care manager, will go in and she will add that, figure out a way, if it's possible, to add that as a smart condition. So if you're busy in the run of the day, I have a little one pager that I just have saved, and it's just a velocity one pager. And every time I think about something I want to add to velocity, in the moment, I quickly add it to that list. And then weekly, every bi-weekly and monthly, I take the time. But we're busy, and it's hard when you're in the moment with a client and another client's waiting for you to jump on a Zoom or a call. So don't get overwhelmed. Start slowly and simply focus on one thing at a time. Someone's asking how to actually set up smart conditions. Thank you, Alex.
Sorry, Julie, can I jump in for a second?
Yeah.
I was just going to say on that, like, I know that we've got a diverse audience. We've got like new users that are kind of new to the industry and just getting started, through to like experienced, 20-year plus. If you've done 3 files, go back and look at the documents collected for those 3 files and just mark the things that were the same across those 3 files, like the same documents, and start there. So you might go across 3 files and you might see 8 documents that were the same across all 3 files. Start with those smart conditions, because that's the commonalities you're starting with. But Julie, I'm just like you, like we keep an ongoing list, and when there's something that I'm like, why are we not conditioning for this? Then we just add it in from there.
Yeah. And Michael, there's a question in the chat around how to set them up. Michael's going to be able to
I've sent. Yeah, I've put a link in the chat to a video that shows you exactly how to set it up.
Yeah, and once, I swear to you guys, once you set up one, it's going to be so easy to set up the rest. It's just, again, set aside 10 minutes to set up the first one. When you do, and then you have to, when you're in conditions and docs, you have to click add the smart conditions. Do that, and you just, for the first week, you'll be like, what am I, gotta figure this out. And at the end of the first week, you'll go, that saved me so much time, where I can now focus on leads and generating more business. So Michael, I think we kind of hit the first section, which is leads to applications. Maybe we could show the visual for that one, and let's just do our takeaways. So really focusing on I use client experience. Aaron's doing the quick app and entering the basic details on a phone app. We're both then sending document requests. So that's the first piece. There's definitely ways to use the SMS texting. And there's definitely ways that you need to focus on your leads column. Your leads column's kind of your lifeline, in my opinion, to new business. Everybody who's a lead, and you heard Aaron say it best, everybody who's a lead is entered into the leads column. He, like I am, is also making sure that they're a contact card in our cell phones in case they call. I'm also, just a little tip for your cell phone, and I do this in my leads, and maybe you do this too, Aaron. I make sure when I enter the lead that I go to referral source, and I always enter the referral source in the lead. In my contact card, it's got the person's first name, last name, and then there's another line in my iPhone in contact. The next line, I enter the year. So let's say 2021, comma, and I enter who they were referred by. So I actually put 2021. And I'll put Michael Masters. And that means that client, when they call, I'm able to quickly look at their contact and remind myself who they were actually referred by as well.
Got 3 quick things. I'll jump in. I know we're time crunch. Every lead is a contact. Every contact is a lead. So if it's a contact of yours, it should be in velocity, regardless of whether they're like your cousin, your brother, the guy that does your fantasy football league. They should be in velocity in case you want to target them. But likewise, if it's in velocity, it should also be in your contact book so that if they call you, their name is popping up. But 2 other things I really wanted to touch base on smart conditions that like saved me a ton of time. 1, when you're building out smart conditions, there's 2 sections when you're building it out for notes. One is internal notes, and that's notes like prompted to you. But more importantly, and what I use, my system uses, are the external notes. So for example, when the T1 general, or when the income tax and benefit return, which is the technical name for the T1 general, when that condition pops up, I have an external client blurb that says the income tax and benefit return is the document that's compiled when you file your income taxes. This document can be anywhere between 15 and 25 plus pages. I need the entire document. So that blurb pops up. I don't have to type that every time I'm setting that document request, but then the client sees it and they know that I'm not just getting the T1 general, which is the first 5 pages. I need the whole darn document.
Nice.
And then the other thing with smart conditions is I obviously have all my smart conditions built that are specific to what I need from the client, but we have a ton of smart conditions built for internal stuff too. So credit reports, there's a condition for that. Correspondence, there's a condition for that. I have my signed letter of engagement because I need somewhere to put it once the client signed it. So that populates. So basically every condition or every document that's going to become part of a file auto-populates in Ontario Disclosure Borrower. That auto-populates so that we don't have to go create them manually, even after we've got the docs from clients.
Yeah, that's great. We do the exact same and it works so well. And for anyone who hasn't used smart documents, again, I always feel like some of these new areas of velocity, if people have not used them, I feel like people feel like that's going to be hard. No, you just need to try it, and you should try it a little bit. Take a little bite, right? It's that idea of don't decide you have to create the most perfect smart documents ever in one sitting. Take a little bite, just try income. And you're right, those little descriptors, and it's hard to kind of understand what we're saying until you're in there. Once you add a smart condition, smart document, you can add these great little descriptors. And I want you to get really detailed in those descriptors. Just like Aaron is saying, he's very detailed in how he's defining this. The more detailed you are, when you go to send a document request to a client, if you're really detailed and you explain it really well, they're way more likely to just send you the darn document, aren't they? Then say, I don't know what that is. I've never heard of that. I'm not sure how to find that. We try to say what it is in a very detailed way, and in some cases, how to obtain it. Because whether that's a City of Calgary property tax assessment, because I'm in Calgary. So what it is, be detailed, and also sometimes just a little helping hint on where to obtain it, I find works really well. Kelly Dean, hi Kelly, she's asking a question. Will there ever be a way that context and velocity are popping essentially into your iPhone and vice versa? It's a really good idea. I can't say that for sure, but I mean, with everything that we're working on in velocity, we're certainly working on lots of different kinds of integrations. For now, I know it takes that extra 25 seconds, right? 30 seconds to pop it in. I think it's still worth it to do it. I would say, and I think maybe Aaron, you're a phone guy. You're like my partner. He's very much a phone guy. I am less of a phone person. I do the warm call in the beginning. I do the commitment call, and I do a closing date call. Those are kind of my 3 calls that I like to do. In between, I really don't want to do a lot of calls. I'm really focused on very robust, detailed emails and using the SMS texting now. And that's just preference, right? Like it's just how it works for each of us and as mortgage agents. But I'm always looking, and you might just not agree, but I'm looking sometimes for ways to get away from this thing, this phone this is also my personal cell phone. And sometimes I was getting tired of the Friday night at 10 o'clock and the Saturday mornings and Sunday mornings. And yes, that's how our business works and grows, but I'm using every tool I can in Velocity to take more of my business and push it into Velocity so that it exists in there versus it's just my phone and it kind of feels like the grind. What do you think about that, Aaron? I don't know. What do you think about my thoughts on that? Or what are your thoughts on it? I love and hate my phone, my friend.
So at the risk of clients seeing this,
it's just us.
Meeting with a client is a waste of time. Talking to a client is the second waste of time. And I don't mean that from the, like, there's obviously phone calls that are important, but I absolutely agree with you. Like if a client books a half-hour call, generally they will take a half hour because they think that they've booked a half hour of your time. They need to maximize it. So anytime that something can be dealt with an email, if the client wants to email me at 3 a.m. because that's when it works for them, great, because then it's sitting at my desk at 8 a.m. The text sucks because, as you said, like the client's texting you at night, they're calling you weekends, this, that, and the other thing. My cell phone is like my business phone. I don't have a separate business line that my clients have generally. But no, absolutely. Everything is pushed to Velocity. Everything is pushed to email as much as possible because there's a reference back to it. It's on my schedule, not the client's schedule. And it's not interrupting my evenings.
Yeah. This takeaway number 1 can go down now, Michael. Thank you so much for popping that up. And I want to move into the next step, which is thinking about, and we already targeted some of this with the smart conditions and things like that. I want to talk about what are the ways that we're creating that efficiency, which I absolutely believe with more efficiency, we increase production. It's just going to happen. We're going to do more deals if we're more efficient. Or we're going to learn how to golf really well. I'm not sure. Maybe you become like, maybe you just are so efficient that you do the same amount of deals, but you have 2 hours a day to go golfing. That's cool too, right? I don't always assume people want to increase production. I think a lot of us do though. A lot of us, I see new people. Christian is newer to the industry and he just asked a question. I know a lot of us want to grow our businesses. So how do we use some of the tools in Velocity in the middle section, which is anyone who's in your new deals, your submitted, your accepted columns? How would you say that you're using things like conditions and docs or workflows, the pieces of the system in the middle? How are you using that for efficiency? And just like, I want to take those deals, those apps, and I want to get them to submitted, and I want to move them to the Velocity columns as fast as I can in a way that still creates a 5-star client experience, right? As fast as we can on a team, but it's still a 5-star experience. What are some things that you're using in the system to actually keep things moving?
It's hard to have this conversation without talking about client journey. Client journey can be a whole separate conversation, and certainly anyone that's on this call that's part of my team, we just did actually a 4-week in August extensive client journey and integrating Velocity into client journey. But really, like in a nutshell, to answer your question, we retain clients by being prompt, by being efficient, and by being smooth, creating a repeatable process. You know, when you walk into Starbucks, it doesn't matter whether it's Starbucks in Qatar or Starbucks in the Scarborough Mall. We know where to get in line. We know where to pick up our coffee because they've created a standardized process. Same with McDonald's. And that's what we are always looking for. At least I'm always looking for in my business, as much as possible, a standardized process. So workflows are extensively integrated into my client journey because it's the natural touch points. You know, my assistant sends out a moving reminder. Hey, you're moving in 30 days. Here's 15 things you should do prior to moving. That goes out 30 days before closing because we have the client journey built. I don't have to wonder or worry that it's going to get missed because the things were a shuffle or whatever, because that client.
Okay. I want to stop you. I want to focus in on what you're saying because you and I think in the same way. But I work with a partner who's my husband, so I obviously know him better than anyone who doesn't think like us. So what you're saying is you have a client journey. You want your clients to experience. You want moments, you want email templates, you want wording, you want processes and protocols to be the same over and over. And so you've actually taken the time in your business. And this I personally think it's the best time we could spend. What you just said, I think is the starting point of every successful mortgage business. If you don't know what your client is going to experience in every moment and every stage of your mortgage process, you will find the Velocity tools or any other tools kind of challenging because you don't know what your goals are for the client journey. So you're saying you've mapped this all out. So you know exactly
Want to see it?
Want to experience. Yes, we'd love to. Yes. And then you're using the Velocity tools to make this journey a really fantastic 5-star journey.
So this is what I'm going to share on the screen is not my entire client journey. It is just the client journey aspects that have been implemented into workflows. But essentially, these are all the workflows that are built. You can see red is external, like email or phone tasks. Black is, well, white in this, depending on how the screen shows, is internal to-do tasks. So those things that me or my assistant are doing. But basically, all of these are workflows that are popping up, prompting me to do something. So when a file goes to submitted stage, I'm getting a reminder to let the client's realtor know that we've submitted. I'm sending an introductory email to the listing agent. I'm following up with maybe any documents that have expired between when we did the pre-approval and when that offer to purchase got submitted, or at least it's prompting me to check and make sure everything's good to go. And all of these things are built into Velocity over time. I didn't build them all in one go, but they are all built, and it just pops up with, you know, my assistant walks in and today she's got 37 tasks to complete, and she just goes boom, 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 boom down the list. And this spans right through to when that client's coming up for maturity 5 years from now, or 3 years, or whatever the case may be.
I have something pretty similar. Yeah, I have something. So this is fun. This is way more detailed than mine, though. That's really fantastic. So yeah, you've really envisioned your perfect client experience, right? And Kelly Dean is saying, you know, sometimes the smart conditions or the setup on these things can be a little bit overwhelming. I have about 20 workflows, but when I hear 70 workflows, that made my week. I love the tip on the Velocity notes pages to remind yourself. I think you're right, Kelly. I think again, here's what, and I could be wrong, but Michael, you're an expert in training, so I want to hear your opinion on this one. I am not an expert in training. I am a perpetual obsessed student. That is different than being an expert in training. So I'm actually not a Velocity trainer. I love to share ideas, and I love to go, Erin, tell me more about that. Is such a great idea. I want to hear that. I'm good at helping people share their best practices and thoughts. But Michael, as a trainer, how do we help people? What's the starting point? Do you think that is the starting point watching the video? Is the starting point connecting with someone else on their team or the broker owner, sharing ideas? What do you think are just some of the really simple ways people can dig in?
So it's going to depend on your learning type. So there's different people that will watch something, get it straight off the bat, and they'll be able to work it in their day. I found a lot of the time, this is why whenever I do my sessions, I always give my email so that you can reach out to me. So everybody, I'll put it in the chat. You can reach out to me at any time. The best way to do it is to firstly go and check out the videos, because they are put together really well, and they don't beat around the bush. They go straight to the point. So I would suggest you go and check out the videos as a start. Secondly, obviously, and this comes with any learning that goes online, is that video didn't explain this. So I've got this question. When you got a question, tell me, I watched this video, I've got a question on this specific video, pop me an email. And I think that's a great way to go about it. I'll give you my email, not the training team's email, pop things to me. So in a nutshell, watch the video, get your questions, pop them to me. And if they get complex, I'm willing to jump on a Zoom call with you at any day, at any time that suits us both. But use the training team. Use the training team.
Yeah, I love that suggestion. So let's start really simple. Let's not overwhelm ourselves. Let's think about what Erin's saying. What's your perfect client journey? Let's focus on one area. Let's not decide that we're going to go all the way from leads to closing in one day and revamp our entire system. Let's just, this week, my brain is on leads. That's my brain this week. I'm focusing and hammering in on the leads and what value adds that I can have using Velocity on leads. Every week I try to think of a new topic, and I think too often people want to get overwhelmed. Secondly, the Velocity Facebook page is such a great place to post a question. It's searchable. You can go to the search bar and you can search for topics in there. People will answer your questions. Sometimes people don't always know the answer. Michael will answer, I will answer. Michelle Arujo is answering questions in the Facebook page. If you're on a team, like I'm on a team and Aaron's on a team, one thing we've done, which has really been helpful to us, is that we share ideas on Velocity via our team, right? Whether that's in a team meeting or we get on a text stream. Hey guys, texting's so easy. It's like we have this little team text. Hey guys, this is something cool I did with leads. I tried SMS texting and it wasn't scary and it works really well and it's really cool. So, share ideas on your teams, use the Facebook page. Start with the videos though. I think until you've watched, those videos are 2 to 3 minutes long. They're so well done. Until you've watched the video on smart conditions, you need to watch the video on smart conditions. You need to open your system, ideally on another screen. Like Aaron's saying he has 3 screens. Have your Velocity screen open, watch the video on one screen, pause it, go into your system, open smart conditions, start by creating one relating to income, start with pay stubs and LOEs. It's a really easy one. And try it and rewatch the video and then watch the next video. This is 5 minutes of time. And I find sometimes it's a lot faster than me. People will say, well, Aaron, show off your workflow or flows, or me. Guys, I can do that, but unless you really have what Aaron's saying is that client journey, first of all, even a simplified version, it doesn't have to be as, fancy. His is rockstar level. Start it. I'm learning how to play piano level, right? And just make a really simple one pager on the client journey.
So an important note too with like workflows and scripts. And I've seen some people being like, hey, I'm feeling overwhelmed. Will you share? Implement what works for you. Like I can share my scripts with you all day long, but if it's not your language, if it's not how you speak, you're not going to use it. You're going to put it in place and you're going to ignore it because it's not you. I can share all my workflows with you, and people have connected with me on the Facebook Velocity group and asked me to share my workflows. I'm happy to share them, but like that's what works for me. And if it doesn't work for you, if it's not your comfort zone, you're not going to implement them. So even if you get a list from somebody and you're newer, or even if you're experienced, if it's not fitting with your business, make note of it, but maybe don't implement it just for the sake of implementing it, because you're going to get overwhelmed with a ton of tasks, a ton of notifications that pop up in Velocity for things that you don't want to be doing and don't fit with your business model. So just be cognizant of that when creating smart conditions or when creating workflows.
Yeah, we had Christian Boserup. I'm probably not saying your last name very well, but Christian was newer in the industry and he said, like, show me how to do it. And I think what Aaron and I are both saying is really sound. It's like, you really need to be yourself. You need to figure out, again, Aaron's more phone and I'm more email. My partner's way more phone and way less email. You need to really figure out what works for you and also what works for the kind of clients you have. I mostly have very A clients. I don't do really almost any B. I do A or private. I don't have anything in the middle. I have a lot of, couples who are professionals, who are inner city people. So some of the tools that I use in Velocity work really well. And sometimes I have to shift as well when it's not the client that fits that model or that mode that I think I'm in. So you have to be really open-minded to setting up your basic kind of setup and then shifting. Michael, let's put up the takeaways for section number 2. And I think we hit a lot of them, using conditions and documents. I definitely have a rule that we really only collect documents via Velocity. So we really don't collect documents anymore via email, and that's working really well. I think that starts with, and I think you'd agree, Aaron, the first call. In that first warm call you're doing and I'm doing with the client, I am saying, I have this really fantastic system. It is so secure. It's incredibly safe. It is encrypted, and it is a really safe, easy way for you to be able to provide me with documents that are highly personal, things like T4s that have your SIN number on them, things like T1 gens and bank statements. And so, yes, we could accept a document via email, but I would really rather you just simply click that upload button. It's so easy to use. And if you have any issues, all you need to do is send us a quick text, an email, give us a call, and we'll help you do the first upload. So let's set expectations, use conditions and docs. the workflows, there's so much power in workflows, but like we said, you really have to dig in. And then I want to mention referral partners, and we haven't really talked about that. It sounds like you have this really lovely database that's really generating lots of clients for you. I'm only 7 years in the mortgage broker side. I was an RBC mortgage specialist before that. So I'm building a database, and I have a lot of realtors. I'm still with lots and lots of realtors. And so we're incorporating realtors into our workflows, which is to send an email, make a call, send a text message to a realtor partner, a home builder partner too. So that's another good way in the middle of the application to add some value to referral partners. So those are kind of takeaways from section number 3. And we have a few more minutes. I just want to talk about our last sort of topics, which are what the heck happens, and this one can go down now, Michael, what the heck happens in your business, Aaron, and how do you use Velocity at the end when you're pretty much done the app? Are there things you're doing in Velocity? Are there things you want to do? Because I know you're talking about moving moving everything into the Velocity CRM. Do you do any gifting? And the last thing I need you to comment on is your charitable cause, which I think is the best thing I've ever heard, ever in terms of gifting. And so maybe just tell us a little bit about the end of your process and how you use Velocity, and a little bit about your cute little donkey there.
Sure. So my goal for my assistant and I is we always want to be broker complete, or we shoot to be broker complete within 15 days of having a commitment issued. That is our goal, whether it's a 120-day closing or a 30-day closing. We want to be broker complete as fast as possible. I want to put that file to rest from my own stress. I want to put that file to rest for the client's stress. And I want to put that file to rest so that if something happens down the road, I don't get triggered for a new credit report, or I don't get triggered for a new document that maybe blows up a file that would otherwise close smoothly. So a lot of my workflows are built around time-based things. A lot of my workflows are built around closing dates or different things. So when the file moves from approved to accepted status, we have workflows built out, but kind of towards the end. So I do have touch points that I get prompted for touching base with the lawyer to make sure that they've received instructions, touching base with the client to make sure that the lawyer has contacted them for the appointment. I've got triggers for the realtors and also for the client on the day of funding, 30 days post-funding to make sure, actually 32 days post-funding to make sure that the payment came out and everything got set up all right and everything's okay. We have yearly touch point reminders. So a lot of the post-funding between file funded and maturity date, that is transitioning early to CRM. That's where we're going to start moving things first. And that's going to be the anniversary touch points, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 year touch points. Nice. We're going to transition some of that post-funding of, hey, did your payment come out okay? Because that's generalized stuff. Our MPP follow-up, hey, it's closed. Have you thought about your insurance coverage? We saw you decline. Do you still want to take it? So those kind of touch points. And then we start reaching out to the client. Well, we stay in touch the whole way through, but we start reaching out to the client heavy about 6 months prior to the maturity date, because if that client has lasted the full term, we want to hit them before the bank or the monoline lender hits them to talk about renewal options. So that's going to get automated to the CRM side of things. The one piece that I can't unfortunately loop into Velocity, and that's the donkey that everyone asks about behind me. So 12-ish years in the industry, I have never thought, I personally don't feel like I need to gift my client something on closing. What they got was their purchase or their refinance closing on time. What they got was exceptional service. I don't need to bribe my client to get them to like me or to work with me again. My reputation, but also my experience with the client speaks to itself, or it should speak to itself. But in Pushlinch, which is just kind of between Guelph and Cambridge, Ontario, there's a place called the Donkey Sanctuary of Canada. And basically what they do is they take in abused, mistreated, neglected donkeys, mules, equines. And it's just kind of like a neat little place. I shouldn't say little, it's a massive farm. It's 100% donation driven, not-for-profit charity. And I've spent a lot of time there. My partner and I really enjoy hanging out there. With COVID, things got shut down and they weren't able to do their charity 5K run walk with the donkeys, which was like a big moneymaker for them. So for year-end 2020, I sent out to all my clients that had closed in 2020, I sent them out a sponsorship to a donkey. So you can sponsor a donkey. It's $100 for a year. They get a package, a picture of their donkey. They get like a welcome package with stuff like that. And I just totally did it as a like way to help out a charity that I like, without subscribing to like 70 donkeys on my own.
This is so sweet. I love this idea. I love this. This is like Michael, is this not the best idea we've ever heard in Masterclass? Aaron
Exactly.
saving the lives of the cutest, sweetest little donkeys. And he's
honestly, like
the awesome
response from clients, and this was totally not planned. Like I didn't do it all from a marketing point of view at all. It was 100% just a way to help the charity. But like the client response from even clients that I was like I've got some high net worth, like multi-million-dollar clients. I'm like, oh my God, I'm sending a donkey to them. Like, this is so dumb. Yeah. Like the people that have reached out to say that they want to visit the sanctuary, the people that have reached out and said like that they can't wait to meet their donkey in person, or that they're going to continue this.
I love it.
That like the feedback has been phenomenal. And the sanctuaries actually like reached out to me to thank me for the number of people that have posted about their donkeys on social media.
Wow.
But the fringe benefit for me is that I'm getting clients now that have gone to visit their friend or their family member's new house, seen this donkey on the fridge, asked about it, and now they're reaching out to me because they're like, you're giving to a charitable organization, like that's so nice, we want to work with you. And like totally unexpected,
amazing,
phenomenal. I'm so happy, but now I'm getting a bit of a reputation for not being an ass man, but I either get or are you an ass man, or I get some sort of like you're the weird donkey guy, but hey, that's okay. So
yeah, I love that. Awesome. And I think that you're ending the journey your clients have with you in such a beautiful, lovely way, and it's so thoughtful. And you're right, it's going to speak to someone who's a first-time home buyer. It's going to speak to someone who has a multi-million-dollar home. It speaks to all your clients, and it just shows them really what a nice guy you are. You're really thoughtful. So I really love that idea. And I think, Carly Cousineau is like, that's awesome. So many people love this idea. I think that gifting can be charitable giving. We did that last year. We told every client we were setting aside X amount per mortgage application. And then at the end of the year, we sent a big update to every client, and we gave away $10,000 on our team last year. And we picked 4 charitable causes. And we had so much good response from that. And we all united on our team. So our entire team would just do, we just did some money per deal. It wasn't that much. And I just kind of stockpiled it. Then at the end of the year, everyone on our team, we basically had a list, and we voted as to which charities we wanted the funds to go towards. So it's same idea as the donkeys, but your clients get a photo of the world's cutest little donkey on their fridge.
They get a photo, and they get a story about the donkey, like where it came from or how it ended up at the farm. And it just, it's a great little touch piece.
It's the best. Velocity needs a little donate to, the saving the donkeys button. This is the button for Velocity, right? We need a workflow all about this for sure.
So I have workflows set up. So my assistant remembers to order all the subscriptions and like get it all set up and send out the thank you letter and stuff. But
I need to find something like that in Alberta, because that's really cool. We are running up to we are over 3 minutes over, Michael Masters. Michael's got to be the watch. He's watching us like Sarah would be. Come on, TikTok, Julie.
Get out of here.
I cannot thank you enough, Aaron. I feel like you and I could do a masterclass every week. I'm not teaching anything. I'm just asking you questions, and fantastic ideas are flowing out. I cannot believe your knowledge of Velocity. You're definitely in the advanced level. You're digging. What I'm really seeing in your business is you're really digging into making a piece of technology. It's just a piece of technology. That's what it is. But you're making it work for you and your clients and how you want to run your business. And that's the thing I love about Velocity the most. This is not one system fits all. This is take how you like to work, live, care for your clients, the journey you want to get to 5-star client experiences, and use Velocity to create that experience for your client. It's very unique. And so I want everyone to just remember, it's how you want this to work is incredibly unique. So I want to thank you so much for being on. We have to have you on again. We need you on a panel, because there's a few other people that I would love to get you chatting with and sharing ideas. Michael, thank you for hosting. And as always, we want to thank Jeff Willis and Kevin Deere, the original inventors of Velocity. You guys, who sits around and invents this thing? It blows my mind all the time that they actually had the foresight, the guts, the time and the energy and the investment to basically invent velocity from the ground up. And the fact that Aaron and I are talking about it at the level we are just shows you, to me, how far velocity's come in changes, how we're adapting, and the new releases we're having. And so I'm always really, really proud to be a part of the Velocity team, and really grateful to Jeff and Kevin, the OGs, the original inventors of something so cool. We thank them. And that was a really fun masterclass.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me.
Back again. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks, Michael. And everyone, now, Aaron, everybody wants to go and sponsor a donkey.
Google the Donkey Sanctuary of Canada.
They want your client journey, your 5 pages of like beautiful intel, and they just want to sponsor a donkey. It's so sweet. I love it. Thank you. You're the nicest guy, great mortgage agent, and we're really thrilled that you shared all your intel with us. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Julie. If anyone does want to connect out about workflows or like scripts or anything like that, I'm on Facebook. I'm on the Velocity group. I'm happy to share. But as I say, I'd encourage anyone to like take what I can provide or what Julie can provide or Michael can provide and build on it, make it your own, because that's the way you succeed, is creating your own identity in this industry.
Absolutely.
But thanks so much for having me.
Thanks,
it was great. And we'll chat soon.
Next time. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.